Welcome to the first episode of Film Talk Football. I'm Russell Nelson.
And I'm Turner Keck, and we're going to go over our review of Week 1 and looking ahead at Week 2 and talking about our matchups of the week.
Starting off, Bills-Rams, Thursday Night Football, Week 1. What was your thoughts on that?
I thought, actually, I have right down here who didn't impress this week. The Rams, particularly Matthew Stafford. He looked bad.
For those of you who don't know,
I can pull up the stats.
He needs surgery on his elbow, but is playing through the season, or at least going to try.
So
he has a baseball injury that usually requires Tommy John surgery.
So the Rams really couldn't get anything done on the ground, which wasn't a huge surprise. They weren't a ground-heavy team in years past. But Stafford went 29 of 41 for 240 yards, a pick, or 3 picks and a touchdown, and over half his yards were to Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. He had 0 time to throw throughout the game. I believe it was 8 sacks. They had 8 sacks on Matthew Stafford, 4 of them coming from Jordan Phillips and Von Miller. The Bills were not blitzing.
Bills had 7
sacks. 7 sacks?
Did not run blitz for a single play.
They were rushing for the entire game, getting instant pressure. Matthew Stafford had nowhere to go.
On the flip, if you want to talk about somebody who did impress, Josh Allen, despite the 2 picks, one of which was really not his fault, Josh Allen looked incredible.
He picked up right where he left off. Josh Allen looks like he could be
I think
an MVP
he started the
year.
game, I think, 9 for 9 or something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Go with that. Gabriel Davis, he was going to be a question coming into this year, whether he could fill a role as a bigger receiver. I mean, everyone thought he could, but it was about him stepping up. I think he showed that he
had 4 receptions for 88 yards. He had 40 less yards than Stephon Diggs. Yes, he did. 40 less yards than Stephon Diggs with 4 less targets.
Yeah. Then what about the Falcons? We got the Falcons finishing with normal Atlanta style, blowing a 26-10 lead.
Honestly, couldn't tell you a single stat from the Falcons game. I just know that they blew a lead, and Jameis Winston is him.
Michael Thomas, I know Michael Thomas came back for his first game since 2020. He had 2 touchdowns.
He was a big question mark, and I think he showed that the Slant Boy nickname was not appropriate to him.
I don't know. Then we have Pittsburgh in Cincinnati. Everyone thought that was going to be kind of a big game for Burrow, and it was more a big game for the Steelers defense. They ate up Burrow. He had 4 picks, 1 fumble. The Bengals almost won still, considering that. That's actually kind of embarrassing for the Steelers. I forget what the exact year was, but the graphic while I was watching the game showed that there hadn't been a team in 10-plus years to win a game with a -5 turnover differential. And as much as I want to credit Mitch Trubisky for having a good starting game as a Steelers quarterback, he just did not put enough points on the board. They should have whooped the Bengals.
Yes. I didn't know it until just now. Joe Burrow threw 53 passes.
Yeah.
That was absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought the Steelers defense did a really good job as a team. They only allowed 1 sack on offense, and they sacked Joe Burrow 7 times. One thing the Steelers definitely need to improve on, they punted 8 times.
Yeah, they went 3 and out a lot.
They had possession for 26 minutes, and the Bengals had it for 43 with the turnovers. They got beat in every offensive statistic.
If
they gave up 32 first downs.
If the Bengals long snapper did not get hurt, it was a backup long snapper. It was their backup tight end playing long snapper for them because their long snapper had a bicep injury.
Yeah.
That little role in kicking lost the Bengals a game.
Yes.
It's the least thought of position. It lost the Bengals a game. They could have won on the extra point when Jamar Chase scored that game-tying touchdown, but nope, it was a bad snap. Had a game-winning field goal chance. Nope, another bad snap. Laces towards the kicker, went wide left, not even close.
Kickers are another thing I have down for did not impress.
Couple missed game winners, at least.
Tennessee missed a game winner. There were three missed game-winning kicks in the Pittsburgh game. Ultimately, it did end in a game-winning kick, but I don't believe there was a missed kick in the Houston game, but I wouldn't doubt it. Possibly one or two more that I can't remember off the top of my head. I know the Broncos missed the game winner, but that's not really at the fault of the kicker.
Broncos, the Titans. I know the Colts. They had a game-winning chance against the Texans. They missed. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that is it. That's pretty. The only team who hit their game-winning field goal on the first try was the Browns.
Yeah.
With Cade York.
Every QB playing their former team this week lost 0 for 3. We have Russell Wilson against the Broncos, lost last night. Baker Mayfield against the Browns, lost on a game-winning field goal. And Joe Flacco against the Ravens, lost by 15. So
that actually ties into my next thing. Another person who failed to impress me was Broncos head coach. I forget his first name, but
Nathaniel Hackett
did not impress.
I just need to say this right away. What are you doing? You just traded 2-3 first-round picks. You just gave up a boatload for Russell Wilson.
He's getting paid $256 million.
He's going to turn around your franchise in your eyes, and you have a 4th and 5 week 1, and you're not going to give it to him. You're not going to put the ball in his hands to pick it up. You're going to go with a 64-yard field goal, which would have been second in NFL history for longest field goals. I don't understand that whatsoever.
Yeah, that was quite a pretty dumb decision. And then just like it looked like a lot of missed opportunities from the Broncos. Russell Wilson had 340 yards and only 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
There were a couple dropped passes.
I mean,
there were a couple dumb play calls.
And it was 16 points, and that's almost never enough to win a game. So,
yeah. So I was not impressed with Hackett at that game. I was also unimpressed with Packers wide receivers.
Christian Watson, he dropped a 50-yard touchdown bomb. I know that Aaron Rodgers is sitting there ready to leave, ready to force a trade.
Leading receiver for the Packers was A.J. Dillon. Then Romeo Doubs.
That's fantasy waiver wire pickup of the week. If you can, go pick up Romeo Doubs, Packers wide receiver.
So just overall, I mean, like, I forget exactly how many it was, but there was a stat. At half, Justin Jefferson had 38 more receiving yards than the entire Packers offense would have the entire game.
That's
or at least the receivers would have the entire game. So I was not impressed. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers was not impressed
there's a couple memes of him already.
Young receiver core.
Yeah.
But to spin on a positive side, Justin Jefferson is, I know it's only week 1, but made a very strong case that he might be the best receiver in the league.
He said going into fantasy, I think he's being a little overvalued. He kind of shut me up this week. He put on a show. 9
receptions, 184 yards. That's 20.4 yards per catch with 2 touchdowns. He was the only player to catch 2 touchdown passes that game in general. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so you got to just give credit to him there.
Next, we have the Giants. Go Giants, baby. We got our first week 1 win in 6 years due to general manager Joe Shane, DPU alum. Brian Dabble made a game-winning 2-point decision. Put the ball in the hands of Saquon Barkley, who was having a field day.
You guys are so lucky you have Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley is the picture of the Bugatti under the roof of the trailer home. Yeah, that is Saquon Barkley on our roster right now. He had 194 total yards, and he really just made play after play for us. Daniel Jones, he had a solid game besides
188 yards for 2 touchdowns.
He had one play, the wheel route. He was throwing it to Saquon Barkley in the end zone. It was a mallard to the cornerback. That almost lost them the game. And then he also got strip sacked from his blind side, which you can't really put all on him, but
It was actually really funny. We were watching the game, and I called both those turnovers.
yeah, it was quite Daniel Jones-esque turnovers, if I do say so myself. But he did look good in every other aspect.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at the Giants. I think, like I saw the other day, week 1 is the biggest liar in football. I think there will be a lot of teams who played bad this week or played good this week that will be shown throughout the year to not be on the level that they played at.
I would agree with that, but week 1, if week 1's a liar, then why haven't the Giants been good when they've lost the past 6?
Because the Giants were so bad that week 1 was telling the truth.
Okay, so maybe they're so good that it's telling the truth.
Okay, anyways.
Definitely not coming from a Giants fan.
Right now, and really impressed with, is the Chargers. Justin Herbert showed that he's going to be an MVP candidate this year. 26 for 34, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. They didn't run the ball super well, like at all. And this was probably the least involved I've ever seen Austin Eckler in the receiving game. But he threw 3 touchdowns to 3 different targets, none of which were Keenan Allen or Mike Williams or Austin Eckler, his normal targets. And the defense with Khalil Mack looked great. They forced 3 picks, one from Asante Samuel, who I love, Drew Tranquil, and Bryce Callahan. And then on top of all that, you had Derwin James getting a sack, Joey Bosa getting 1.5 sacks, Morgan Fox with half a sack, and Khalil Mack with 3. So I think, and you can't argue that the Raiders' offense is bad. The Raiders have a solid offense.
Yeah,
so I think
most definitely.
The Chargers have shown that with their defensive struggles last year, that's kind of less of a worry this year. They're going to be fine on defense, and obviously their offense is still going to be as good as it's always been.
How they have get to the passer besides Khalil Mack, because wear and tear over the season, he can't be getting 3 sacks for them every game. They got to step up.
No, not at all.
Other players.
So looking ahead to week 2, not a whole lot of really good matchups if you want to go through those.
Yeah, not any real star matchups like week 1. We had a bunch of them in week 1. I mean, obviously there's Chiefs, Chargers, which I think you'll get to. But we're going to start off with Carolina at New York. New York's coming off their first home opener win season opener win in 6 years. They're starting a 3-game homestand, and they're playing against Carolina, who struggled against the Browns. Baker Mayfield didn't have the best game. Christian McCaffrey, again, didn't have the best game. Giants coming in super energetic. I think they have momentum that they haven't had in years, and as crazy as that sounds, with only 1 win, I don't think anyone, even themselves, really expected to go in and shock the Titans like that.
I think the Giants win, but I think you can't rule out the possibility of Baker revenge game and Christian McCaffrey revenge game, basically, for after their last week outing.
That's
and
true,
also, it'd be really funny if they lost. It's always really funny because
the
Panthers, they lose in funny ways.
The Panthers' rush defense is not the solid point of their team. Saquon Barkley just had 164 rushing yards. I think you might see a repeat performance out of him again in week 2. He really had his bounce back. If you watch the Giants game, he looked like rookie Saquon Barkley, not like the shell of a man we've seen the past 2 years.
That's because he's finally not injured.
Then we have Seattle at San Francisco. Seattle just came off of a huge win against Denver. Geno Smith actually performed much better than expectations were around the league.
He also impressed, and I forgot to talk about him, but he impressed me.
Yeah.
And that's all I can really say on it because I don't have his stats pulled up anymore.
And San Francisco was quite the opposite. They went and played in Chicago.
I think
a terribly stormy game.
It was an awful weather game, so you can't really nobody really threw the ball super well in that game.
You can't really judge off of it. But Trey Lance did not have a good game. They lost to Chicago 10-19.
I think the 49ers win this game. I think with the weather theoretically being better, Trey Lance shows off a little more. I think he becomes more of a dual threat again instead of he's probably going to run the football because it's so awfully rainy outside. So I think the 49ers step back up, their defense steps back up, and their offense comes to match it instead of kind of falling flat in the storms.
Yeah. So, again, I agree. I think San Francisco is winning this one. And I just don't think that Seattle's defense is capable of stopping their offense with Trey Lance if the weather permits that they can run their normal system.
Yeah.
Then finally we have Chicago at Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers does his yearly thing where
the Packers
he takes
win
off.
this game. There's no more analysis in it. Aaron Rodgers is 22-5 against the Bears. He hasn't lost to the Bears in 4 years. And, I mean, yeah, he had a bad week last week. Him and Joe Burrow both did. But I think those are two people that I put it down, don't panic about them. Aaron Rodgers does this every year. He likes to lose the first game.
And
then he'll go 13-3. And then he'll lose in the second round of the playoffs because they suck in the playoffs. But that's unrelated. So I think the Packers easily win this one. I think is it at Green Bay?
It's at Green Bay.
Yeah, the Packers walk out of here winning. I think it's been even longer than 4 years since the Bears have won in Green Bay. So
that sounds reasonable. I would expect
I don't see anything changing. I think the Bears are in kind of a rebuild mode, and they may pick up a game or two here and there.
Sorry, Connor.
Yeah, sorry, Connor. I know you're listening to this, but I praised the Eagles earlier, so you have to forgive me. So I think easily you see Aaron Rodgers get back in his stride. I think his receivers step up this week, and they figure everything out.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my first game of the week is a primetime, the Thursday night matchup, the Chargers and the Chiefs. I am a little biased. I really don't like the Chiefs. I really like the Chargers. But I think what we've seen year in and year out is that the Chiefs kind of suck at defense.
Yeah. And every game that they play against another talented quarterback is almost always a shootout.
And I think, ironically, this weekend was a double XP weekend in Call of Duty. So that was why Kyler Murray played so bad. But the Chargers, I think they get one here. Their defense is good. Their defense is very good. The Chiefs' offense didn't get better. It kind of got worse.
I mean, they did put up 44.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, I still think the Chargers the Cardinals also aren't a spectacular defense.
No, definitely not.
And I think Allaire had an uncharacteristic game out of the backfield.
I think this might be his year as a breakout, especially in fantasy.
But if you look at it,
not there anymore. A lot of their screenplays, a lot of their short designed, not really trick plays, but kind of misdirection plays, they're going to start going to Clyde instead of Tyreek like they normally would have.
Yeah, but I still think that the Chiefs' offense is good. I'm not going to discredit them there. I don't think it's any better than it was last year. And I think the Chargers' defense I think the Chargers will step up. I think it's in Kansas City. It doesn't really matter. The Chargers don't really have home games. They have neutral site and away games. So
what's the over for that game?
I have no idea. My thing doesn't have money lines. Well, you look that up. I'll talk about my next game. So my next game is also it's the Monday night. So the beginning and the end of the week. It's Eagles, Vikings. I think as much as I just praised the Vikings, I think the Eagles win because it's an 8:30 game and Kirk Cousins is the starting quarterback. He's notoriously bad in primetime games. So I think you see the Eagles here take a big win. I don't think it's going to be like they shut down Justin Jefferson. I think it's just Kirk Cousins primetime yips, and he can't play.